2020, there was an incident that took place.
In a shocking revelation, Joni Lamb reveals the untold truth about the death of her husband, Marcus Lamb. It has been kept secret for decades, causing endless speculation and curiosity, but now Joni is finally lifting the veil on their private world. Join us to find out the shocking details about Marcus Lamb's death. Joni Lamb and Marcus Lamb's wedding was a beautiful and intimate affair, filled with love and a shared vision for the future. The couple had known each other for years, building a deep connection rooted in both faith and mutual respect. They met through their shared work in the Christian broadcasting world, where their paths crossed on numerous occasions. Their relationship grew out of their shared passion for ministry, and they quickly realized that they had found something special. The decision to marry felt natural to both of them, as their bond was built on a solid foundation of trust, love, and shared values. Their wedding, while not overly extravagant, was a true reflection of who they were. Two people committed to serving God and each other. The ceremony itself was a simple yet elegant event, attended by close family members, friends, and colleagues. Held in a serene location, it embodied the peaceful and loving environment that both Joni and Marcus cherished. The vows they exchanged that day weren't just promises of love, but also commitments to support one another in their shared mission. Joni, ever the graceful presence, wore a modest but stunning gown that suited her perfectly. Marcus, dressed in a classic suit, stood beside her with a calm and genuine smile, clearly in awe of the woman he was about to marry. The love between them was palpable, and the ceremony felt like a sacred moment, marking the beginning of a lifelong journey together. Their wedding day was not only about the union of two people in love, but also about the beginning of a new chapter in their professional lives. Shortly after their marriage, they began working together to build Daystar Television Network, a Christian broadcasting network that would go on to touch millions of lives around the world. Their partnership was not only personal, but professional, and it was clear that they were united in their vision for the network's success. They shared the same passion for spreading the gospel and using their platform to help others, and this common goal strengthened their bond even further. Over the years, Joni and Marcus continued to build a life together, not just as partners in ministry, but as a couple who faced the highs and lows of life side by side. Their relationship was built on faith, mutual support, and an unwavering commitment to each other. Through the challenges they encountered, both in their personal lives and in their work, they remained a united front. Their love story was a testament to their shared values and vision, and their wedding day marked the beginning of a journey that would touch the lives of many. Their commitment to each other and to the work they did together was a powerful reminder of the strength of love and partnership in both personal and professional spheres.
This is a very special program because we are going to be sharing our heart with you today, and I just want to say right at the front, sweetheart, that you and I are strong, and I think that our marriage is better today than it has ever been.
You are just an absolute angel, and I am madly in love with you, and you mean so much to me.
However, I do want to share something with you, and it is this.
Over time, the marriage between Joni and Marcus Lamb faced several challenges that, despite their best efforts, became difficult to overcome. From the outside, they were seen as the perfect couple, committed to each other, to their faith, and to their work with Daystar Television Network. But behind closed doors, their relationship wasn't as flawless as it appeared. One of the biggest issues they faced was the intense pressure that came with their public lives. As the leaders of a major Christian broadcasting network, they were always in the spotlight. They had to constantly juggle the demands of their ministry, their personal lives, and the expectations of their audience. Over time, this pressure began to take its toll on their marriage. Despite their shared passion for their work, the constant demands of running Daystar began to create distance between them. The long hours, the travel, and the emotional strain of being in the public eye made it difficult for them to find time for each other. Marcus was often away on business or focused on the day-to-day operations of the network, while Joni, too, was deeply involved in the ministry. They both wanted to succeed, but the success of their careers often came at the expense of their personal time. They found themselves growing more distant, not because they didn't love each other, but because they were so caught up in the whirlwind of work that they didn't have the time or energy to nurture their relationship. Another strain on their marriage was the underlying emotional issues that both of them had been dealing with privately. Marcus, in particular, had been struggling with his own personal battles, which he had kept hidden from the public. His health issues, which had been kept private for years, eventually began to affect their relationship. Joni, who had always been the supportive wife, found herself increasingly worried about Marcus. But she also felt like she was carrying the weight of their responsibilities alone. The emotional and physical toll that Marcus's struggles were taking on him were not only affecting him, but were also having a ripple effect on their marriage. Joni, though strong, began to feel the strain of trying to keep everything together, from their ministry to their home life, all while dealing with her own feelings of loneliness and frustration. As time went on, the lack of communication between them grew. They were both so busy and overwhelmed that they stopped having the open, honest conversations that had once been the foundation of their relationship. Instead of talking about their feelings or the struggles they were facing, they began to retreat into themselves. Marcus, unable to fully express what he was going through, withdrew further, and Joni, feeling like she was losing the connection they once shared, became more isolated. It wasn't that they didn't care for each other, it was more that the pressures of their life together had built a wall between them that neither of them knew how to break down. In the end, their marriage became a painful example of how even the strongest relationships can be strained by the pressures of life, work, and personal struggles. Despite their deep love for each other and their shared vision for their ministry, they found themselves in a place where they couldn't seem to find their way back to the connection they once had. It was a heartbreaking realization for both of them, but it was a reality they could no longer ignore. They had tried their best to balance everything, but the weight of it all became too much, and the cracks that had formed in their marriage were now too wide to repair. For years, Marcus Lamb and I had built a life together that we were proud of. We worked side by side in building Daystar Television Network, a ministry that touched the lives of millions, and we raised a family in the public eye. To many, our life appeared perfect, a picture of success, stability, and unwavering faith. But behind that polished exterior, there were always whispers. The rumors that spread about Marcus and me, about our marriage, and about his character were nothing short of heartbreaking. It wasn't easy to ignore them, especially when they began to grow and become more damaging over time. But I knew I had to find the strength to push through. The truth was, those rumors, those hurtful lies, almost broke us. The first major rumor that came to light was the one that shook me to my core: the suggestion that Marcus was unfaithful. At first, it was just the kind of idle gossip you hear when you're in the public eye. Someone would whisper about a rumor they'd heard, and we'd brush it off as just that, another baseless claim with no real foundation. But over time, it started to gain traction. The media got involved, and suddenly, it was no longer a passing rumor. It was a full-blown story. They painted Marcus as a man who had betrayed me, a man who was leading a double life. The whispers became louder, the questions more pointed. People began to wonder if the perfect couple they had seen on their screens for years was actually a facade. What hurt the most was the damage it did to our relationship. We had always been a united front, both personally and professionally. Our relationship was built on trust and shared goals, and for so long nothing had come between us. But the constant barrage of rumors chipped away at that. Every time we heard another story about Marcus's alleged affairs, it felt like a stab to the heart. How could they think that about him? How could they believe something so completely false? But I also realized that it wasn't just the media and the public who were feeding into these rumors. Some of the people closest to us began to question us too. Friends, colleagues, even people in our church community started to look at us with suspicion. It felt like the walls were closing in on us, and no matter how hard we tried to ignore the noise, it was impossible to escape. At the time, Marcus wasn't as vocal about the rumors as I was. He preferred to keep a low profile, choosing not to engage with the media or the stories that were being circulated. But for me, it was impossible to stay silent. I wanted to defend him, to show the world the man I knew, the man who was dedicated to our family, to our work, and to his faith. I wanted to protect his name, to show everyone that the rumors weren't true. But it wasn't just about defending him, it was about defending us, about showing the world that our love and our commitment to each other were real. Over time, however, the toll these rumors took on our marriage became undeniable. The constant pressure, the scrutiny, the endless cycle of speculation wore us both down. The media's focus on our private lives, despite our efforts to keep them out of the spotlight, began to impact our relationship. Marcus, always the strong one, started to withdraw. He was hurt by the accusations, and he didn't know how to deal with them. Instead of facing the rumors head-on, he retreated into himself, trying to ignore the chaos around him. But that created a distance between us. I wanted to confront the issue, to talk through it and clear the air. But Marcus was not the kind of person who wanted to engage in public battles. He was always more private, more reserved, and the constant negativity started to wear on him. I could see the frustration in his eyes, the way the weight of the rumors affected his spirit. It was hard for him, and in turn it became hard for me. There were nights when I would lie awake, unable to sleep, thinking about the rumors, wondering what people really believed about our marriage. I couldn't stop imagining how much damage was being done to our reputation, to the work we had built together. The thought that someone might believe Marcus was anything less than devoted to me was unbearable. But what hurt even more was the realization that these rumors were more than just idle gossip. They were a reflection of how people's perceptions could change so quickly. In a world where fame and success often go hand in hand with scrutiny, we were caught in a web of public opinion, and it felt like there was no way out. There were also the rumors about Marcus's character, whispers that he was more focused on his personal ambitions than on his faith in ministry. People who had followed Daystar for years started questioning his integrity, his motives. They asked if his success had gone to his head, if he had become too focused on the business side of things, too detached from the spiritual mission that had first driven him. These rumors were especially painful for me because they didn't just hurt Marcus, they hurt everything he stood for. Daystar had always been about faith, family, and serving others, and to see that mission questioned in such a public way was heartbreaking. It felt like the very foundation of what we had worked so hard to build was being attacked. The media, of course, had a field day with all of this. They latched onto every new rumor, every small detail, turning it into something much bigger than it actually was. It was like they were waiting for our downfall, eager to tear apart everything we had worked for. The worst part was knowing that the stories being told about Marcus and me were often based on half-truths and outright lies. Yet, no matter how much we tried to fight back, the rumors continued to spread. Every time we addressed the issue publicly, it only seemed to fuel the fire. The truth was, no matter what we said or did, the public had already made up their minds. The damage had been done, and it was impossible to undo it. In those difficult times, Marcus and I had to rely on each other more than ever before. We leaned on our faith, prayed together, and tried to find strength in the love that had always held us together. Pressure was relentless, and there were moments when it felt like we were fighting an uphill battle. I knew that the rumors weren't true, but the constant negativity and the strain it put on our relationship took a toll. It was hard to stay positive, hard to believe that things could ever go back to normal. But through it all, we stuck together. Despite the whispers, despite the rumors, we held on to each other. We knew that if we could get through this, we could get through anything. And that's what kept us going. Our commitment to each other, our faith in each other, and our determination to rise above the lies. As time passed, the rumors eventually faded. People moved on to the next big story, and we were left to pick up the pieces of our lives. But the damage was done, and the scars from those years of speculation and public scrutiny remained. It wasn't easy, but Marcus and I learned a valuable lesson from it all. No matter how strong the rumors or how loud the critics, we knew the truth. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The financial rumors surrounding Marcus and me were some of the most painful and frustrating to deal with. As public figures, we were used to the scrutiny that came with our work in the ministry, especially with running Daystar television network. We knew that people would talk, that there would always be speculation about our lives, especially when you're in the spotlight for as long as we had been. But the financial rumors, those were something else entirely. They weren't just idle gossip or baseless accusations. They struck at the heart of what we had built together, both personally and professionally. And to this day, I still don't think people fully understand how much damage those rumors did to us. It all started with whispers that Marcus had been mismanaging the finances at Daystar. There were claims that he was funneling money into personal projects, that he was using the ministry for his own financial gain, and that he had been hiding his wealth from the public. These rumors were incredibly hurtful because they didn't reflect who Marcus truly was. He had dedicated his life to building Daystar, and every decision he made was for the growth of the ministry and the good of the people we served. But instead of seeing that, the rumors painted him as a greedy, dishonest man, a man who was only interested in accumulating wealth at the expense of the very people who trusted him. What frustrated me the most was the complete lack of understanding people had about the complexities of running a large organization like Daystar. It wasn't just a small operation. It was a massive network with thousands of employees, millions of dollars in donations, and a global reach. Every decision we made was scrutinized, and every penny spent was closely examined. But despite our transparency and the efforts we made to keep things above board, people still whispered about our finance. Some even went as far as to suggest that Marcus had been embezzling money. Those rumors were especially hard to bear because they were so far from the truth. Marcus was not only a man of faith, but a man of integrity. The work we did together was not about money. It was about ministry, about spreading God's word to those who needed it most. The fact that people could think he was using Daystar for personal gain felt like a slap in the face. Over time, the rumors began to grow, and the media picked up on them. It seemed like every week there was a new story about Marcus's alleged secret wealth or hidden accounts. I would read the articles, and it was as if they were speaking about a completely different person. The truth was, Marcus was deeply committed to his ministry. We both were. We poured our hearts and souls into Daystar, and yes, there was financial success, but it was never about the money. We were constantly reinvesting in the network, expanding its reach, and making sure that the resources went towards supporting the mission. The rumors, however, made it sound like Marcus was just another corporate mogul looking to profit from the work of others. The hardest part was trying to protect Marcus's reputation while dealing with the emotional toll of these accusations. I knew the truth. Marcus had never been the kind of person to take advantage of others, especially not when it came to something as important as his ministry. But when the rumors started to spread, people who had supported us began to question everything. It was difficult for me to see how quickly people could turn on someone without knowing the facts. There were some people who had been loyal followers of Daystar, who had supported us for years, and now they were questioning whether they could trust us. I had to keep reminding myself that those who truly knew Marcus and understood the work he did would never believe these lies. But that didn't stop the whispers, and it didn't stop the damage being done to our name and our ministry. We tried to address the rumors, of course. Marcus made statements clarifying the financial practices of Daystar, and we worked with accountants to ensure that everything was transparent. We opened up the books and showed the public where the money was going, but it was never enough. No matter how much we tried to explain, the rumors persisted. People had already made up their minds, and the media was more interested in sensationalizing the story than in telling the truth. The constant barrage of accusations started to take a toll on Marcus. He was a private person, and having his integrity questioned in such a public way was a blow that he wasn't prepared for. He'd always been someone who believed in the power of his work and the mission of Daystar. But these rumors started to shake his confidence. He became more withdrawn, more distant, and I could see that the weight of it all was starting to get to him. What people didn't understand was how much work went into running a network like Daystar. The resources weren't just being funneled into the Lamb family's pockets. No, they were being put back into the network, into its programs, its outreach, its staff. We were constantly reinvesting in the work we were doing, trying to make a difference in the world. But when you're constantly under the microscope and rumors are swirling, it's hard to stay focused. It felt like we were constantly fighting to defend ourselves instead of focusing on the work that mattered most. I can't tell you how many times I had to sit by Marcus's side and reassure him that we were doing the right thing, that we were not like those who were trying to tear us down. But even I started to feel defeated at times. The financial rumors didn't just affect Marcus's reputation, they also affected our family life. The stress of defending ourselves, the constant questioning, the public scrutiny, it all took a toll on our home. I watched Marcus struggle with the weight of the lies being spread about him, and it made me feel helpless. We had worked so hard to build Daystar and to make a positive impact in the world, and yet here we were, being torn apart by baseless accusations. It wasn't just the rumors themselves that hurt. It was the fact that people were questioning our motives, questioning our integrity, questioning everything we had built together. I remember nights when Marcus would be up late, pacing, trying to make sense of the lies being told about him. He was never one to shy away from a challenge, but this was different. The emotional toll of the rumors started to affect his health, and that was something I couldn't ignore. I had always admired Marcus's strength, but I could see that this was taking a toll on him in ways I couldn't even begin to understand. It was hard to see him struggle, hard to watch as the weight of these rumors slowly wore him down. And no matter how much I tried to reassure him, it didn't seem to make a difference. The damage had been done, and the public's perception of him had been altered. Looking back, it's clear to me now just how much those rumors impacted us. They were a constant source of stress, a lingering cloud over our marriage and our ministry. But despite it all, Marcus remained dedicated to the mission of Daystar. He refused to let the lies define him or the work he had done. I stood by him, knowing that the truth would eventually come to light. But in those moments, when the rumors were at their worst, it was difficult to see how we would ever move past them. The financial rumors were just one chapter of our journey, but they were a painful one that tested our faith, our relationship, and our ability to rise above the noise.